Hey, welcome back to Golf the VRX's Winning What's in the Bag, where this week we are taking a look at Cameron Young's bag from the 2025 Wyndham Championship. I unfortunately didn't get to watch the tournament at all. I was actually on a golf weekend with some buddies, so unfortunately I didn't get to watch it, but a huge congratulations to Cameron Young on the win. Now, Cameron is a Titleist staffer, and his bag is fully Titleist, but he's got some cool, unique things in there that I think are definitely worth taking a look at. It's not just the same old, so I'm pretty excited to jump into this bag. I think he's got a really awesome setup. And as we jump in, we always do, we start at the top, which is driver. And driver is the Titleist GT2. So this is the slightly more forgiving, a little bit higher launching, a little bit more spinny head compared to, say, the GT3. Now, there's also a GT1 and a GT4, but the 2 is kind of like the most widespread. It kind of fits the widest range of golfers. But the nice thing, too, is that GT2 and GT3 from address look almost identical. It's very hard to distinguish which one is which. So even if you don't need the lower spinning, more penetrating flight of the GT3, but you love that look, the sound, the feel, you get into the GT2 and you're going to get pretty much all of that. So it may sound slightly different, but the look is going to be the same. So you don't have to sit there and say, man, I really, need this performance, but I really like the look of that other driver. They both have that same look, which is really awesome. Now, his is a 9-degree head, and he is playing the hosel, the SureFit hosel in A1. Now, the photo on here shows a hosel in D1. That was a previous photo from, I believe, the RBC Canadian, where we took a photo. He has since changed over to A1. We kind of confirmed that with Titleist, and A1 means it is the stated loft, 9 degrees, standard lie angle, all that. So standard 9-degree head with the GT2, and it is shafted up with a Mitsubishi Tensei 1K Pro Orange 70TX. So the Pro Orange is the counterbalanced low launch, low spin shaft. And counterbalance basically means that if you were to put it on a scale, the handle tends to weigh a little bit more than the tip. It's more balanced towards the handle. And this is done for a few reasons. One, people like that feel. Two, you're building a longer club, so you as you get longer, the head feels heavier. So as you build a longer club, a counterbalance shaft will make it feel a little bit closer to normal. Or the third way is you're building a head that's just heavier. There's some people out there who like the feel and the idea of putting more mass in the head will translate into more ball speed. It's going to drive through the ball a little bit more with added mass. So a counterbalance shaft will let you build kind of a standard length driver with that heavier head with no problem. But it's a great shaft. It has kind of a carbon Kevlar weave in it for ball speed, and it of course has that 1K fiber wrap for added stability without adding much weight. Now this one here comes in, even though it's a 70TX, it comes in at 80 grams uncut. So the full 46-inch shaft is 80 grams. When you cut it down, you're going to lose a few grams on, if you're going to tip it or take some off the butt end. But 80 grams is the uncut weight, and it is 2.7 degrees of torque. Now on there, he's got a little sticker for 45 inches, assuming I think he still plays it at 45 inches in length. Then we move into 3-wood, and his 3-wood is a Titleist GT3, 15-degree. Now, Titleist doesn't put 3-wood, 5-wood, anything like that. They just put the degrees on there, but the 15-degree is considered a 3-wood. Now, this one here has that movable sole plate where it has the weight you can shift forward and back. Now on that, where you can kind of dial in if you want a little more fade bias, more draw bias, or the gear effect as you swing it will also kind of feel different if you shift that weight out of the toe or into the heel. It's going to add kind of a different feel as you swing the club. Now this one here is, and it's set to neutral on that sole weight for Cameron Young. Now this one here is also set to A1 on the hosel setting, so it's playing 15 degrees, standard lie angle, nothing kind of change there. Shaft on this one is going to be a Mitsubishi Tensei, but it is going to be the 1K Pro White. So this is going to be the low launch, low spin shaft, but it is not counterbalanced. It's traditional in terms of its weighting. And when you look at the profile on it, it's kind of a medium stiffness handle, a little stiffer midsection, and then a medium stiffness tip section. So real firm in the middle, a little softer at both ends, still low launch, low spin, very stable. And it is basically also has that 1K fiber in across it for a little bit added stability. The tip section on the 1K Pro White does have some boron strands that run through it. And that adds a little bit of stability while also holding a little bit of compression. Like carbon doesn't, I guess, compress very well. Boron can help with that compression in there and add some solid feel to the shaft. Now this one comes in at 86 grams and 2.7 degrees of torque because it is an 80TX. I don't remember if I said that on there, but the 80-gram version. So 86 grams, 2.7 degrees of torque for his 3-wood shaft. From his 3-wood, he then moves into a hybrid, and this is, again, a Titleist, and it is the GT2, the 21-degree hybrid. So I believe this is, a 21-degree. Again, they don't put numbers on them, and hybrids kind of have their own little range of what one place considers a 3, another place considers a 4, but this is the 21 degree GT2 head. Now this one here is actually surprisingly, for the shape, it is slightly bigger than the GT3 one, but it's actually got a fairly good shape to it, a good size. It is the most stable hybrid in the Titleist lineup, partly because it has 2 weights, one in the heel, one in the toe, that just spread that mass out, making it an extremely stable head. So if you do miss it a little bit, the ball tends to go pretty straight. Now, the hosel in this one, the SureFit hosel, set to A1, so standard, 21 degrees aloft, standard lie angle. He does have a 5-gram weight in the toe of the sole and a 7-gram weight in the heel. So it is set up just slightly draw biased, but pretty darn neutral. And that head does not have like a ton of left in it. You can even set it up with big heavy weight in the toe if you're worried about it. Now the shaft on this one is the Fujikura Ventus HB Black 10X, and this is the new one, the one with VeloCore Plus, the one that just came out earlier in the year. And the VeloCore Plus is basically a slightly modified bias core. So the original Ventus VeloCore was a bias core that was this material that added stability to the shaft, and then they added the carbon wraps on top of it that would kind of change the profile and other things. This bias core here is updated with some new material to make it even more stable while still keeping ball speed high. Now the 10X one is definitely pretty heavy, comes in at 106 grams, 2 degrees of torque. It is a really stiff, low launch, low spin hybrid / utility iron shaft. It's got a very stiff handle section, a still pretty darn stiff midsection, and a very stiff tip. So overall, really stiff, really stable, low launch, and low spin. Now we move into his iron set, and it's definitely something that's a little bit more unique. He definitely has a combo set, but it's probably not one you've ever seen. The first iron is going to be a 4-iron, and that is a Titleist T200. So this is going to be the multi-piece kind of player's distance iron that Titleist has made. This is the previous gen, not the brand new one that just came out. This is the previous one that came out in 2023. So it does have that kind of silver badge on the back. The new ones don't have that. But it is basically a body that is made from steel, a bunch of internal weighting, and then a really fast face put on it. So it's got some added ball speed, a little bit more launch, and that can help gapping at the top end of the bag or hitting a number, whether it's height or distance, whatever that Cameron wants to hit. So a little bit of speed, a little bit of extra height, all that built into his 4-iron. And this one is shafted up with a True Temper Dynamic Gold X7. So we have never, I don't know if we've ever talked about the X7 yet before on here, but the X7 is a pretty unique shaft. It is the stiffest, lowest launching, lowest spinning shaft that True Temper makes. It is extremely stiff, even compared to the Dynamic Gold X100. This is basically the next step up. So 133 grams, low launch, low spin, really stiff handle section. But yes, a very stable and stiff shaft for really big hitters, fast, high ball speed players, or high swing speed players. This shaft is built for them. Kind of got made famous years ago with, I think Jason Day played it for a long time. And then I think has since moved. But again, heavy, stiff, low launch, and low spin. The next iron in his bag is his 5-iron, which is a Titleist T100. Now this again is the previous gen, the 2023 model, not the brand new T-Series that just hit the market. But this one, you know, again, smaller players CB. It's forged. It does have 2 internal tungsten weights in the toe and the heel. So while it is tiny, has a thin top line, not a ton of offset, all that, it's still actually pretty stable, and it's very forgiving. Good feel to it. Probably one of the most played players irons out on tour. And I assume the new one will kind of take over and do that as well. But this one was in the bag for a ton of tour pros out there. And this one is also shafted up with a True Temper Dynamic Gold S7 or X7. And, you know, this thing, again, 133 grams, low launch, low spin. It does have a slightly bigger handle diameter. So like a standard X100 is a 0.600 in terms of a diameter in the butt section of the shaft. This one's a 610. Typically, as you go bigger, it adds a little stability, a little stiffness to the shaft. So you will have that being the slight difference, you know, just in terms of the size of the shafts. The handle section on the X7 is just a little bit bigger there. Then we move into the rest of his irons, 6 through 9 iron, and these are Titleist 631.CY prototypes. Yes, these are, of course, prototypes. These are built for Cameron Young. These are irons. They're forged muscle back blades. So in theory, when you first see them, you might just think it's like a 620 MB. It is an iron designed strictly for him. So the 631 and then the CY, of course, Cameron Young being at the end of it. And the big thing with these is that they have a slightly different CG placement. It's a little bit lower on these blades compared to some others, so it does have a little higher flight that Cameron likes, as well as it's got a sole that has a pre-worn leading edge, and it's a little bit wider. So turf interaction was a big thing for Cameron, along with the added height. Both those things are designed into this iron. So he's been said before, this iron is perfect. He has no plans of ever changing. It's exactly what he wants. But higher ball flight and then that pre-worn leading edge will help as that club enters the ground. It will kind of reduce some of the digging. Want to get that iron through there shallower, as well as the wider sole will reduce some of the digging. And that pre-worn leading edge will also get that leading edge down a little bit in order on tight lies to get that contact up on the face near the center where it needs to be. So a totally custom designed set of blades for Cameron Young. I think they came to him at some point and said, what would you like to see from a set of irons? And then they came to him and just built them. And he now has his own set of prototype blades, which is pretty darn cool. So he plays those 6 through 9, and just like the other irons, he's playing the True Temper Dynamic Gold X7s in those irons as well as the shaft. So again, really stiff, low launching, low spinning shafts there for those irons, that iron set. We move to wedges, and wedges, he's got basically 4 wedges. The first one's going to be the pitching wedge replacement, which is going to be a Titleist Vokey SM10. This is going to be the 4810.10 F grind. So full sole, 48 degrees. So we're going to assume his irons are basically playing off a little bit weaker spec. I don't have the exact specs. Titleist doesn't necessarily hand out all that information sometimes, but this is a 48.10 F, so pitching wedge replacement. That is basically, some people play the sand wedge version instead of the set pitching wedge, and for some people it's a shape thing. They like a certain shape. For other people it's a launch and spin thing. A sand wedge kind of matching wedge will spin and launch a little bit differently than an iron one. And in his case, since his irons are custom made, they fly a little bit higher, that SM10 may fly a little bit flatter, maybe give him a little bit more control while still having spin in the pitching wedge there. And that F grind is, of course, that full sole, not a ton of relief or anything like that to it, a little bit wider, great turf interaction on full shots. Then you move into his gap wedge, and his gap wedge is a 52.12 F. So again, I think there's kind of a trend here with Cameron Young that he turf interaction. He might get a little bit steep, might take a little bigger divot, and these slightly wider, more soles with more bounce tend to help him with that turf interaction. So 52.12 F. Again, this is the higher bounce version of the gap wedge. They make a low bounce version as well, or a lower, call it standard bounce version in the same sole grind. Then we move to a 56 degree, and his 56, I bet you guessed it, is a 56.14 F grind. So again, more bounce. It's funny, I think we always thought tour players played super low bounce wedges so they could kind of manipulate them and play all the shots they wanted to play. It seems like the trend has definitely been higher bounce with a lot of players. I know Scheffler, a few others have been playing the same 56.14 F, but high bounce, great out of the bunker, tons of float. They usually playing kind of softer sand. But this thing here, great for full shots. It's not going to dig. It's just going to kind of hit the turf and glide through. Now, he does play this one 1 degree weak, so it's even really playing like a 15F, but a lot of bounce, reduced digging. It's going to play really well. And for these guys, they can still manipulate the face, open it, and that leading edge coming up off the ground isn't going to change a whole lot for them. So 56.14F for the sand wedge, bent 1 week to 57. Now for his lob wedge, he is playing the Titleist Vokey WedgeWorks 60 K-Star grind. Now this is a 60 K-Star, but it is actually bent 2 week. So it's playing 62, and that's going to add a little bit of bounce to it. So it goes from 6 degrees to 8 degrees of bounce. And Cameron has actually said that he actually had this wedge. He was playing a T grind before, but found that out of the bunker, he just wasn't as consistent with it. Went to the K-Star, found it to be better, and then they benched it a little weak, and he found it to be great. It's perfect out of the bunker, plays really well, and that added bounce just helps him kind of get through the turf. Now, this one does have a pre-worn leading edge and a little bit of trailing edge relief, so you can still open the face up, play some higher lofted shots. That leading edge is going to allow you to keep that leading edge low and take it off tight lies without having to worry about it catching it low on the face as well. And bending, like I said, it's bent 6 to 62, helps add a little loft. You can hit a little bit higher, and it's just overall a really versatile wedge. Now, all 4 of these wedges are shafted up with True Temper Dynamic Gold X7s. Kind of interesting because a lot of people move from, like, say, X100 in irons, they go to S400 in wedges. Cameron's staying with super stiff, super heavy shafts throughout all the wedges, which just shows you that there is not one way to do it. In terms of wedges, some people like a little bit softer and a little bit heavier. Cameron Young likes to stay really stiff and really heavy. These should produce kind of a more boring, flatter trajectory. That'll probably give someone like him more control as he's playing different shots, flighting it differently into the green. So X7s, again, 133 grams, so pretty darn heavy. Pretty much S400 weight, but even stiffer profile. Now, for his putter, this is a pretty interesting one. It is a Scotty Cameron Phantom 9.5R Tour prototype. So he used to play at 9.2, moved to the R, which has the slant neck on it. They call it a jet neck over there in the Scotty Cameron world, but it is a short slant neck that typically adds a little bit more toe hang. So toe hang is the face if you just rest the putter like on a table or in your hands and let the head just kind of freely rotate. The amount of toe hang is how down the toe points as you let it rest there. And typically the slant neck adds a little bit of toe hang. And what a lot of times it does is it gives kind of a blade feel to a mallet. So you get kind of the stability and the look of a mallet, longer sight lines, things like that. But then you still have that feel through the stroke of a blade because it's going to, that toe flow is going to want to rotate a certain way depending on how much toe hang it has. So you kind of get the best both of both worlds. Now, this one here, if you look at it from address, it actually has a little softer shaping to a retail model. So this is, of course, a Circle T. It's a tour prototype. It's built for these guys on tour. And Scotty's crew typically will make things a little bit different if it's a request of a player. But if you look at the corners, especially at the heel and toe, those edges on the retail model are very sharp. They're very angled, very sharp. On this model, they're definitely softened up, more rounded. The putter looks almost a little bit smaller from doing that. And then also that transition where those corners go down into the kind of the wings of the putter. Those are also a little bit softer. You don't see as much the milling lines and things like that on it. So overall, just a little bit softer shape, a little more rounded, not as edgy with this 9.5R out on tour. His has just a single long sight line on it. I think the retail one has two long lines across the top, duals. His just has a single one done with black paint fill, and it's got a little bit more of a kind of a media blasted satin look to it compared to the retail one, which is just a little bit shinier in terms of the kind of brush chromish. It's not pure chrome, but it's a little bit brighter than this duller finish. Now you look on the face, and it does have a kind of a deeper milling. This is usually offering a little bit softer feel and sound to it, so you'll get a little less click and a little bit softer feel as the ball leaves the face because there's less material in contact with the ball. Now, the other interesting thing of this putter is that you look at the shaft. The shaft is a Scotty Cameron experimental shaft. Now, this is a shaft we got photos of back in May of 2024, and the photos you've seen there on YouTube are of that shaft in 2024. This one here looks to be graphite. It's made by UST because it says UST on it, but the tip section is interesting. So these slant necks, usually a shaft has to go, there's a little post on there, and the shaft gets epoxied on over it. So you slide the shaft over the post. Well, graphite shafts, you can't do that. There's not a big enough internal diameter to actually slide over a post. So this one here looks like it does have some type of like metal tip or something. The tip looks different. There's definitely different material there. It's probably metal that connects then to the graphite upper section of the shaft. So this could be multi-material. It definitely is a prototype. Very cool looking, and they've done it kind of seamlessly. I've seen some shafts like this that sometimes look a little bulky, or like UST makes the all-in shaft, which is a kind of matte black carbon fiber upper section, and then it's got a steel tip section that's in chrome. So two different looks. This one here blends a little bit nicer. They're very similar colors, and it does work with this slant neck. So the graphite shafts, a lot of times are a little bit stiffer. They have really low torque ratings, and people like the feel of that stiffer putter shaft in their putter. It could be that, but there's no word on what the specs are on that shaft. But a pretty cool piece in this prototype putter. And then the grip on it is a Super Stroke Zenergy Pistol 1.0 in white and black, which is the kind of middle of the range. It's, I would say, kind of the closer to small. There's a Pistol Tour, and then the 1.0 is the next size bigger. So just a little bit bigger, but still a little bit on the smaller side. A little bit more traditional pistol shape with that arc near the upper hand. Now for grips on the rest of his club, he's playing the Golf Pride Tour Velvet Cord. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure what he has in terms of, are they wraps, how many wraps, anything like that. But the cord basically has some cord running through it. It's an actual like cotton fiber that runs in. Great for moisture management on hot days and things like that. But it really does add a little bit of traction, a little bit of roughness to the grip that players who either sweat a lot or play in kind of humid conditions or wet conditions really like, or you just like the really feel of that on the club. So ball is going to be another interesting one. He just switched over to a Titleist Pro V1X prototype. And if you look on it, it's basically it says Pro V1X, but there's two little dots on the left-hand side. So I guess you're going to call it a double left dot Pro V1X. This is a prototype that Cameron has been working, I guess, with the Titleist R&D department on. Titleist is not telling us anything about it in terms of what it does. The only thing we know is that Cameron Young has said, that he's been a high spin person and he manages that, but it doesn't seem like he hits it high. He likes to hit a high ball. So this could be something where it's even maybe higher launching and lower spinning than the Pro V1X left dash. It also could be something that spins differently, but it is definitely something that's a little bit different based on the Pro V1X. It's going to have some type of characteristics that's different. He also made a comment about this ball testing where there was a hole where he was kind of in between clubs. 5-iron was kind of there, but it was too much. And 6-iron, he didn't think he could get it to the hole with the 6-iron in the practice round. He tried this new ball with the 6-iron and he made it hole high. So something that probably flying a little bit easier for him. And again, it could be that lower spin, could be maybe a little higher flight. We are not sure yet. Again, Titleist is basically admitting that he's playing a prototype, but not telling us anything about it. So something to watch going forward. If it's something that maybe they release in limited quantities later on, they've done that before with other prototypes that we've gotten out there. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get a few boxes that show up at your local shop that you'll be able to grab and go out and try. But for right now, it is a prototype that only you're getting if you have your tour card. So, but that is it. That is the winning what's in the bag for Cameron Young at the 2025 Wyndham Championship. So congratulations to him on a great win. And check back next week when we'll jump into the next winner's what's in the bag.